For the last several weeks, we've been laying out the major foreign policy challenges facing the Biden administration. Joining us now from London, NBC News senior international correspondent Keir Simmons. Keir, good morning. Today you are focused on China.
Hey, Willie, good morning to you. Yeah, that's right. Yesterday, President Biden talked about China's advancing authoritarianism and committed to countering what he called China's attack on human rights. Well, there perhaps isn't any greater symbol of that issue of China, where many people called the Uyghurs live. We've been talking to a Uyghur woman who lives there in the US, and this is quite a split screen, Willie. She is a lawyer there in the US. Her brother is in prison in China. And listen to what she said to me. She said, "I'm in America following my American dream. If I'd gone back to China, I'd be in a prison camp like my brother."
My brother is my best friend.
Rayhan Assad's brother, Eghpar, disappeared in 2016, just as she graduated Harvard Law. He promised to attend her graduation.
I was in tears.
This is Eghpar Assad, a young tech entrepreneur on Capitol Hill that same year on a prestigious State Department program. But when he returned to northwestern China, he was arrested.
We haven't heard a word from him.
He and his sister are Uyghurs, the mainly Muslim ethnic group the United States now says are victims of genocide.
My judgment remains that genocide was committed against the Uyghurs.
Now NBC News has received an extraordinary letter from a senior Chinese government official after we wrote asking for information. Xu Guixiang says Eghpar is sentenced to 15 years for inciting secession.
Absolutely stunned. The Chinese government can't even keep their story straight.
The Chinese official's letter says Eghpar confessed, but the family has profound doubts.
You believe that he was forced to confess?
Just not knowing if he's alive, that's already painful. But learning that he's been through more than I can even remotely imagine, I just can't fathom.
But China has been accused of locking up as many as 1 million Uyghurs here in what it calls vocational training camps. When we visited those internment camps a year ago, we first met the official who wrote us the letter, Mr. Xu. We saw rows of adults sitting studying in state-approved lessons, many of them sleeping in Spartan dormitories.
How often do you see her?
This mother, a widow, was only allowed to see her 4-year-old daughter once a week. Mr. Xu denied it was cruel.
Tell me that it isn't brutal to take a mother away from her 4-year-old daughter when her father has just died. Tell me that is not a brutal thing to do.
She can go home once every week.
Her father died and her mother was taken away and could only see her once a week. And you say, that's fine.
Now Mr. Xu says Bayanman Matotti has been released. Her daughter is fine and living with her now, he tells us, and that Bayanman has found a job for 2,000 yuan, $300 a month. NBC News cannot verify that. Another assertion from his letter that the camps we saw are now closed or left idle. The education and training centres in Kashgar City, which you visited last year, have been shut down, he writes. But even a year ago, it wasn't clear that we were getting the full story. At this camp in Kashgar, Xinjiang, we were prevented from viewing one area.
We can go across the road to the other side, where there are bars on the windows.
That is a normal school. It has nothing to do with us, the camp director said. And now, analysts at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute have identified a new high-security camp close by, with 13 5-storey buildings and surrounded by a 26-foot wall and watchtowers.
We're seeing that a number of facilities, over 60, have expanded in the last year. So this is an enduring and a permanent part of Xinjiang's landscape, these arbitrary detention camps.
China wants to tell the world that its communist system is superior. We were sent glossy videos to show how the Xinjiang region is prospering. Mr. Xu asserts China's Xinjiang policy has got rid of the psychological control of terrorism and religious extremism. He says they're doing their utmost to help poverty-stricken people. But Rayhan says even her parents, still living in China, cannot discuss the situation.
They are terrified to speak about him.
It was a devastating report, and good for you once again, Keir, for walking into that camp and confronting a Chinese official under those circumstances. We've already heard, as you said in the piece from the Biden administration, a departure from the last administration, calling this genocide. Are there signs that America is going to be more aggressive, that the world is going to be more aggressive in putting a stop to this?
There are signs. Look, I think what the Biden administration can do is ask the tough questions. Rayhan's family, they are model citizens. The Biden administration can ask about individual cases and I think hold out to Beijing that countries are judged by the way they treat their own people. This is a bipartisan congressional letter about Rayhan's brother's case. And just I quickly want to just read a little bit of it about what they say about him. They say he is dedicated to philanthropy and talk about his continuous effort in cultivating ethnic harmony. I think the question for Beijing is this: how does it advance China's interest to arrest a guy with that kind of clean, if you like, reputation? This is what the Biden administration needs to be holding out to Beijing. Never mind the human rights question. How is it in China's interests to be treating its own people this way?
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.